BTS members are darlings, but they have their table-flipping, fire-breathing instances just like everyone else. In today's episode, we'll be showing you the times its members lose their temper. It happened when the ARMY was called crazy. An interviewer, while interviewing the BTS members, called them crazy. In this interview, recorded on February 21st, BTS was asked about the story behind their new album, Map of the Soul 7, their tour plans, future goals, current favorite artists, and more. The interview was going smoothly and with a little bit of unprofessionalism. But things changed when the host focused on some questions that they didn't like. He said these fans, are pretty insane. They didn't respond at first, but couldn't hide the expression on their faces. The boys were deeply angry, and it was written on their faces throughout. Before completing the interview, the fans grew their rage on Twitter against Syke. But the BTS boys knew that they're facing a national TV, so they kept quiet. In Western media, ARMY has often been stereotyped as obsessive, crazy fangirls. Not so surprisingly, ARMYs and Kpop fans, in general, are tired of being portrayed this way, which is why many people were not happy with Syke's comment about them in his interview. Although Syke is not the first interviewer to misrepresent the special connection between BTS and ARMY, fans are hoping that future interviewers will take time to get to understand their fandom better. In addition to his teaser post, Syke also accepted backlash for broadcasting a photo of hair, not BTS's, as a joke that drives full attention at crazy fan bases. Number 2. When the BTS get to face some uncomfortable questions. A South Korean news reporter has come under fire for asking an inconvenient question regarding BTS's previous hit, Blood, Sweat and Tears. The journalist asked the question during BTS's press conference for their latest album, Map of the Soul, Persona. During the Q&A portion of the circumstance, one reporter began struggling over his words as he brought up the group's forenamed album, Wings, which was released nearly 3 years ago. You mentioned a lot about the inspirations behind your albums, and I want to ask you a question about how you gain inspiration from various works. I was curious if you were inspired by other works for your previous albums outside of the latest ones. Last February, there were talks about Blood, Sweat and Tears being inspired by another work. I was wondering if you can talk more about that or about the news reports that talked about it. Suga and RM politely questioned the reporter to repeat the question as they were confused by the question. From what I understand, are you asking to know what kind of artworks helped inspire our albums, especially Wings and Blood, Sweat and Tears? Did I understand the question correctly? RM said. The reporter then quit beating around the bush and cautiously asked what they thought about allegations that the Blood, Sweat and Tears idea was plagiarized from a French photographer's work. I brought up Wings and Blood, Sweat and Tears because I wanted to know if, was it plagiarizing? I wanted to know more about the issues brought up by the French photographer. I know this question can be uncomfortable, but I wanted to hear what you had to say, said the Star News reporter. As the journalist was shutting his question, Suga took hold of the mic and handled it like a professional. He answered that their company is handling it and put an end to it with a solid thank you. In regards to that, our company's legal team is talking to the photographer. I believe that our official stance will be the same as our company's. Our company is currently looking into it, so I'm sure we'll know when the results come out. Thank you, Suga responded. The rest of the members couldn't help but be taken aback by the query as their responses made the fans giggle with how relatable they were. Netizens and fans began condemning the reporter for asking about an album and a problem that happened 3 years ago during a press meeting that was solely dedicated to their new album. The rest of the members couldn't help but be taken aback by the question, as their reactions made the fans laugh and how relatable they were. Another incident, Jimin got angry in Hello Counselor. BTS's Jimin is loved by fans for a lot of specialties, one of them being his delightful and kind personality. But in an episode of Hello Counselor, Jimin was incapable to hide his dissatisfaction and anger once he heard about the child's intentions. The story is about a child and his addiction to his plushies. The child claims that he had a lonely past due to his parents working, so he spent a lot of time playing with his plushies. It has evolved into him considering them a part of his family. The child also had an immature sister who rarely plays with him and finds his behavior somewhat odd. He even sometimes harshly reacts to his sister if she doesn't play with him. This elicited a somewhat dissatisfied and angered response from Jimin, who was kind of speechless over the statement. The child even contemplates his plushies to be more significant than his younger sister. This evoked dismay and outraged expressions from Jimin because Jimin has a younger brother that he cherishes deeply, so hearing this must have been a surprise. Jimin ends by telling the child that this is concerning behavior and that he hopes that he learns the significance of family over his plushies. Well, what do you think? In the next one, Suga and RM get angry at B's Free. During BTS's early days, Suga and RM guested on Kim Bong-hyun's Hip Hop Invitational First Anniversary Edition broadcast. During the broadcast, rapper B Free condemned RM and Suga for evolving idols, as he didn't consider idols as rappers. Yet RM and Suga didn't apprehend when they were getting criticized. B Free was like, "But you couldn't win over the temptation of becoming an idol." Suga replied, "I don't understand why you call it a temptation." BTS's rap line, RM, Suga, and J-Hope ultimately released a diss track targeting B Free. While B Free did finally apologize, it was many years later, and ARMY's BTS's fandom didn't respond too warmly to it. It's sure that many of his fans didn't forget his comments. Deep inside, there's a grudge towards him. When a fan intentionally skipped V and went to Jimin. This happens in a more ridiculous way. BTS was getting popular at that time. One of the fangirls intentionally skipped V and went to Jimin to get the autograph. This incident hurt V a lot, and V was gazing at the girl's face to let her know the fact. But she simply gazed and didn't pay much attention. What do you guys think about that? It's not fair to treat all of the idols unequally. They all should get equal attention. Jimin, on the other hand, is the biggest brother who tried to pamper V to get over his bad mood. He played with V and he started laughing. Although we find it hard to visualize Jimin extremely losing his temper or raising his voice when angry, we do think he's very smoothly upset or offended and would deal with this by grumping. We don't think, compared to the other members, he has much of a thick skin, and the conditions would often seem to other people as trivial, and the way he bargains with them is an overreaction. Jimin is someone we see as avoiding serious confrontations at almost any cost, especially when dealing with severe issues, which can cause problems, and that he wouldn't deal with a lot of problems until it was too late. Counting on the situation and the severity of the argument, he would either make his feelings very well known by waiting in the room, but not talking to the other person, or by withdrawing himself and avoiding them for hours or even days on end. He hates dealing with issues in situations such as the breakdown of his relationship with Angel, and instead of talking things through with her, allow it to fizzle out ineffectively to avoid conflict. He also deals with a lot of controversies with Aura, either by playing things off with flirtation or humor, or by sulking. How upset Jimin got with the young man. The host advised the young man to apologize to his sister for disrespecting her, but he wouldn't budge. Jimin gazed at him and told him that his behavior was complicated. He quit his advice by telling him to reflect on his behavior. J-Hope was lucky that there were cameras around. While V and Jimin were shooting something, Jimin glanced happy and brilliant in front of the camera. His Hyung J-Hope wanted to poke fun at him, so he grabbed his bonnet away. Jimin gave him an intense gaze, and it looked similar to how a wolf attends to its prey, don't you think? V was inquired about who was the most and least scary when upset at a previous fan signing. Here's what he had to say. When RM is angry, according to V, is the least frightening of the group. RM is reported for his tremendous patience. Despite his cool and menacing impression, it takes a lot to irritate RM. Yet according to V's 2017 Festa profile, RM is annoyed when people play loud music directly near him. And about Suga, it's no shock that Suga is at the top, given his prestige for being ruthless. Some may be amazed that he isn't ranked first. It's not a smart idea to annoy Suga's sleep, except if you want to be yelled out. V said you don't want to mess with Jimin, according to V. When he's upset, this cute fluff ball will display his teeth. This is something J-Hope can privately authenticate to. Jimin once put his phone on some chewed gum that J-Hope had failed to dispose of. J-Hope couldn't force himself to confide in the crime until much later since Jimin was so furious. So, that's all about BTS losing their temper. Who's your favorite among the BTS members? Also, tell us one reason why you admire them the most in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channel to get more. See y'all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.